Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I want to get straight into it because I don't have much time, and I may even have to chop this video up a couple of times today. There's a lot going on in rugby last couple of weeks, and then coming up in November, you've had the European competition. You've got Australia in disarray down under on their way into the Northern Hemisphere tour. Anglo-Welsh teams are trying to rejig schedules to fit in the LV Cup. International teams going into double-digit injuries on their lists, and then there's a bunch of Kiwis are in the United States for a kickabout. That's kind of a big deal for us over here. Let me get straight into it. 2 weeks of European Championship Cup and Challenge Cup rugby has really flipped the form chart in several games. Round 1 saw home teams win the majority of games, but round 2 saw everybody find their travelling legs, and it created some major upsets on the road. In Pool 3, Toulon, last year's European and French champions, with their long list of expensive superstar imports, haven't even changed in the second bloody gear, to be honest. They coasted to a 28-18 win against a Braithwaite Scarlets team. They gave Toulon a bit of a fright, not a surprise win, and then they had to go and travel to Ulster. Figured it would be a bit more complicated. Ulster are a team doing well in the Pro 12s, ahead of Leinster, and duking it out at the top with Glasgow and Munster right now. Toulon lacked intensity, but the reality is they don't need intensity yet. They're coasting against third and fourth place top flight teams in England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. They'll step up when they need to. Me personally, I'd like to see them misstep right now. And when they do, Europe, you better watch out because you're going to be waking a giant. The next team coming along is going to get a spanking. In Pool 4, Glasgow have maintained their Pro 12s form, which has put them at the top of this pool. And on the other hand, in the same pool, Bath, who had done very well in England prior to this, let the wheels fall off in the European competition. Glasgow did a number on Bath a couple of weeks ago, shocked everybody, but I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised. I've been saying this for a couple of months now. Glasgow are going to do very well this year. As long as they remain injury-free, they're a contender on every front. Bath might beat Montpellier in the next couple of rounds to get them back on track, but it's a big ask to win 4 European games in a row, especially at the level they're playing right now. I'd say that their European journey is pretty much over, barring a miracle. Sometimes that's a good thing, so they can concentrate on things at home and re-establish themselves in the Premiership. Don't write them off completely. Remember, slamming Sam Burgess is on his way back from Australia after putting his name in a folklore down there playing rugby league. It's a fairy tale story. First he gets his face smashed in the first couple of minutes, he runs through, scores tries, wins the NRL final. The guy's an absolute hero pretty much everywhere in the rugby world right now. If that guy can get any uglier, he just did. A big lump of English granite gets his face smashed in, plays the game of his life. If this guy figures out how to play rugby union, the Aviva Premiership's a done deal for me. If he can figure it out, it's going to be a very scary backline for Bath. And this guy, I guarantee, will be in the England World Cup squad, even though he doesn't know his ass from his elbow about rugby union. I've done it myself, flipped from league to union. It's not that difficult. If you can play in certain positions, you can pick it up very, very quickly. Now, to Australia and the scandals and coaching troubles that they're having. As a fan of England and British rugby in general, I'm quietly grinning on the inside that Australia are falling apart at the seams. But for the good of the game, and Australia are usually a large part of the good in rugby, they need to sort themselves out and fast. The coach was under pressure, he lost a few games that Australia would normally win quite easily. They're usually in the top 5, New Zealand, South Africa, England and France. In terms of rankings, they are still there, but losing against the likes of Argentina may have been the straw that broke the donkey's back. For Ewan McKenzie specifically, the coach there had some problems with a couple of other people, namely Curtly Beale. He caused a bit of a ruckus, which he simply thought was a bit of fun. Beale is and has been for a very long time a key figure in the national team in Australia. However, he regularly does get into trouble off the field more often than not. On the field, he's a good guy. To cut a long scandal short, there's an admin managerial lady whose name I won't mention out of respect for her. She received an unpleasant text from Curtly. There's a picture of a naked lady, presumably her. The story goes that she was a bit overbearing when checking up on the players to see if they were doing what they're supposed to be doing. Training, eating, sleeping, etc. She would run around and hunt them down, and he thought it was funny to send a text of a naked huntress. Many, including her, thought it was rude and bullying, and I think they're right. She confronted him on it, and he folded and apologized and was very upset and did what he needed to do. But then he sent it again, because he's an idiot. Cue the Aussie meltdown. When it went to the top, the coach started to feel the pinch, Mackenzie. Also, the director of Australian Rugby, Bill Pulver, now is in trouble. He openly said, "We'll rip up the lad's contract." Unfortunately for Pulver, the guy who they wanted to replace the outgoing Mackenzie was the Waratahs coach. And guess who plays for the Waratahs? You guessed it, Curtly Beale. He doesn't just play for them, he's a key player. And for the coach to take this job in a last-minute basis, he can do what he wants. So he took the job and also keep his job as the Waratahs coach. And he also, in the meantime, looked after Beale's contract for club and country. So it seems at this point, the big boss, Pulver, is the next one on the chopping block. Seems like Australia have got a player and a coach that are running the show. This all sounds and a lot like a mafia movie. Australian rugby and rugby in general is disappointed here. It's an honourable sport where gentlemen are respectful to each other and opponents and fans and referees. Curtly slipped up, but it looks like he's done it many times before. 11 other incidents have gone to the disciplinary board down under. A few years ago, the Morals would have won this one hands down, especially in the amateur era. But since money has come in the last 20 years, comes with it the problems that go along. We've got to work hard to keep our roots in shape, and Australia needs to shape up. You're often leading the way, and we'd like to see you back on top, at least in the moral game. Now, moving on.